Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another reaction video. Today we're going to be watching episode 2 of House of the Dragon. Alright, so I do want to say right off the bat, apologies that the lighting is going to be a little lower, at least for me. Like, I'm going to be a little bit darker than normal today. I've had like a pretty bad migraine, and I just don't want to sit in front of a camera with a ton of bright lights today. Just can't do it at this particular moment. So apologies for that, but hopefully it won't be too bad. I think it's still okay in terms of seeability, I guess. So I'm really excited about this. You guys know, if you've been here for a while, that I am a massive A Song of Ice and Fire fan. I've got Daenerys' dragons tattooed down my arm. Here's my Rhaegal, my Viserion, my Drogon. I read all of the books repeatedly, including the supplementary books, including Fire and Blood, which of course you get the historical context of this show in that text in depth, as well as some in the world of Ice and Fire. And then there's a short story about Daemon, the Rogue Prince. So there's a variety of things, but I've read all of them. And I was really pleased with the first episode, so I'm very excited to see where the rest of the season is gonna go. Nervous excitement, but mostly just excitement, because I'm very optimistic after episode 1. Yeah, so I don't want to wait any longer. Already had to wait a whole week. That's the hardest part of this for me. I want to just watch the whole thing. So, let's get into episode 2 of House of the Dragon. Here we go. I got my popcorn today. Whoop! Whoop! Yes! They did an opening credits! Ah! I said this last time, I really wanted one. Wait, okay, I gotta watch it. So we're tracing, look at all of the... We're tracing the Targaryen bloodline from Aegon down. Oh. Lovely. Oh, they're still alive, yep. Yeah, he wants you to put a stop to it. No more.
Seize the stepstones by force and burn out this crab feeder.
I am not prepared to start a war with the free cities.
These pirates are not the free cities.
Who do you think provides them with their ships?
I mean, okay.
The Seven Kingdoms will never enter. The stepstones will be settled. In time.
You have dragon riders, father.
Let's go, Rhaenyra! I mean, that's fucking right! And that'd be a way to get Daemon back involved as well, because you know he'd want to go.
Rhaenyra.
Yeah, it is.
Be a show of force.
At least the princess has a plan.
I only meant that we should
Making supporters.
A night of me after we raised 2 other watchtowers along the Burn.
She's like, alright, hang on here. And she thinks he's hot, so...
I choose Sir Kristen Cole.
Let's not be too hasty. Vhagar, for instance, is the realm's prime defense against reavers from the Iron Islands.
There's been a Tawny Knights. My father should be defended by a man who's known real combat. Should he not?
Of course, princess.
Well, let us plan Sir Kristen's investiture then.
Yeah, it's gonna... Sounds logical, but, you know...
The capital was built into a volcano, much like Dragonstone. I feared that she wouldn't understand them.
No, Your Grace.
This whole thing is so...
Say, whatever you wish. It's only for you and the gods to know.
So, I'll say, it's an interesting choice they made with this. If you didn't read the books, the source material, Rhaenyra is younger, and so she and Alicent don't really have this dynamic, this closeness, this friendship. So the choice to do this, I guess, kind of add another dimension to the what's coming.
To see me as more than his little girl.
I do think it's good.
Mine own father does not know the language of girls either.
I think, yeah, that's obvious. She's like, I know that to be true.
I wish to talk with him. I know the time must make the effort.
Join our families. Wed our daughter Laena. Unite the two great surviving Valyrian houses. With the Targaryen dragons and the Velaryon fleet bound in blood, you can show the realm that the crown's strongest days are ahead, not behind.
Mm-hmm.
I must admit, I haven't given marriage much thought. It hasn't even been half a year since Emma passed.
The realm expects you to take a new wife sooner or later, Grace, to strengthen your line and produce more heirs. You could not ask for a stronger match than Laena.
Mm-hmm. It's true. But he's already got his eye on someone else, and to be fair, Laena is like really little girl. Ew.
This is our best chance to save the digit. Your Grace?
The throne is killing him.
Dead flesh and hopefully stop the
Get!
Lady Laena is young, Your Grace.
Indeed, but the wounds made by the Great Council still linger, my king. A match with their daughter would go a
It
long
actually
way
would
to
be politically the best choice.
and
But Otto doesn't want to say that because
houses
he has his own candidate in mind
the realm.
for his own house's ascent.
The Grand Maester's reasoning is sound.
With Balerion died the last memory of Valyria of old.
But Vhagar still lives. Somewhere. But too large for the dragon pit.
Some would say too large for our world.
Do you know where she nests?
I'm sorry.
That I wouldn't have to bed you until I turn 14.
Oh, look, he doesn't. She's too little. He can't deal with it. That conversation about Vhagar was sick, though. And if you know the source material, you know why. If you don't, fun things ahead. For now.
Your father's men of that as you carry their cups.
Yeah.
Here is the hard truth, which no one else has the heart to tell you. Men would sooner put the realm to the torch than see a woman ascend the Iron Throne. And your father is no fool.
All shrouded in mist, like when it looks the absolute coolest. Oh boy. Oh boy. It just seems like literally anyone other than you would have been a better choice. Like,
Made me their commander. They are loyal to me. You've come for the egg. Here it is.
Are you mad? You've never survived this.
Well, happily, neither would you.
To choose violence here is to declare war against your king.
yeah, it's almost like Otto wants this.
Even if it ends in the death of your unborn child and its mother.
Oh. Yeah, you don't wanna, You don't pull swords on the Bloodworm's, rider. Oh, yes. Oh, literally everyone is like No one here expected this. You gotta expect that Daemon is like, he's kind of down with it though. He's kind of down with it.
To be restored as heir, you'll need to kill me. So do it. And be done with all this bother.
Yeah. She knew. She knew, first of all, that he was full of shit. And second, that he wouldn't actually kill her. He wouldn't actually go after his family.
I do not wish to make us estranged.
You are the king. And so your first duty is to the realm. Mother would have understood this. Just as I do.
Oh, that's what he needed to hear, but she thinks he's talking about Laena. Oh, man. Oh, God.
The Lady Alicent Hightower. Before Spring's End.
He looks at Otto because he's like, you fucking did this and I know it. You put this in place. Oh. Alicent can't even look at her. Oh. Yeah, you dumb? You dumb man? Yeah, she gave you her leave about to remarry. You didn't mention it was to her childhood best friend. The fact that he would not realize this. Ooh, that's a cool statue.
House Vhagar. You've heard of the troubles in the Stepstones.
Oh, this again.
Some Mirish prince is feeding Westerosi sailors to the crabs.
I've been to send my navy into the territory. But he's denied me.
It was never my brother's strongest trait. Being king.
My house will be crippled. I will not have Driftmark beggared while our king idles himself with feasts and balls and tourneys.
I will speak of my brother as I wish.
Yeah.
You will not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waiting in the
Ultimately.
Stepstones is a chance for you to prove your worth to any who might yet doubt it.
No, don't be over. No, now I have to wait another week. Ah. Okay. One sec. Oh, Binks, Binks, Binks. Sorry, cat situation. All right. Well, that was episode 2 of House of the Dragon. Yet again, I am extremely pleased with what they have given us with this second episode. I don't want to wait another week. I'm really impatient to see what is clearly coming next, what they're setting up at the end of this episode. So I thought this episode did a fantastic job with a lot of the politicking. I was really impressed with what we saw of that, and I really liked that we got to see a bit more of Corlys and Rhaenys and their personalities and the way that they kind of were trying to move things behind the scene, intertwined with their own actual feelings about some of the very serious positioning and their own views on being passed over at various times, who they're choosing to try to ally themselves with in order to further their family's causes. While meanwhile, behind the scenes, we have Otto playing his own game, and then we have Daemon trying to play his own game, but you know, despite being great at some things, including brute force and pissing people off, he's not the champion of the politicking the way some of these others are. And then Rhaenyra trying as well to make a place for herself as a voice, as more than just pouring the drinks of her father and his men at the High Council when she is the heir to the throne. You know, I mentioned early on in the reaction that one thing that they did change for this, and that you wouldn't know if you hadn't read the source material, is that originally Rhaenyra was younger, and she and Alicent didn't have this, like, they weren't like best friends like they are on the show. And so that was obviously a calculated decision they made, not just to age her up, which of course I think was a good choice for just the way the show story is presented, but to have them be close friends, leading all into what we now saw announced at the end of this episode, and what I don't think is a huge shock to anyone that saw what Otto was trying to do at the end of the first episode. And I think that it was a good decision. You know, you saw Rhaenyra's face there at the end. Yeah, she's able to kind of find a way to come to terms with the idea that, yes, her father does have to remarry. He does have to produce more Targaryen heirs, but to kind of trust that it's an obligation, not his wish, to try to come to terms with the fact that she can accept him doing this while also knowing that he still really loved her mother and grieves her mother, and that feeling confident in her own positioning as well, despite what Rhaenys was saying to her about, you know, if your father has sons, once he dies, the great lords are going to want that son on the throne, not you. No, and, you know, she's speaking truth. She's just speaking truth. So Rhaenyra finally kind of pushes past all of that to try to come to terms with it and say to her father, yeah, I understand, and it's okay, I accept this, that you will get remarried. But then to have it be announced that it was Alicent, and then to have to think back on Alicent trying to, like, kind of push her to talk more to her father, and Alicent saying these things about her father's obligations, and yeah, have to suddenly be questioning the motivations of your friend for all of this time. And Viserys just standing there looking shocked, like an idiot, like an absolute idiot. Like, how could I understand he felt like some sense of reassurance, just some sense of it, because of the fact, oh, sorry guys, one second, because of the fact that that she said that she was okay with it, but, like, how do you not realize that there's a difference between her being okay with you marrying someone else and you choosing to marry her best friend who she grew up with and confides in and is, yeah. So I do think that adds an interesting layer to the story that I think was probably overall going to be a good choice. I also really liked what they're doing here, what they continue to do so far with the Daemon storyline in terms of how he interacts with, and even when they're not near each other, interacts with Viserys and Rhaenyra, because they're clearly setting it up in such a way, and I noticed this because I watched a lot of other reactions to the first episode. They're setting it up in such a way that people might genuinely be able to believe that he would want or be willing to kill his brother or kill Rhaenyra to take back the throne for himself to get in that position of power, that he is so power hungry that he might be easily able to do those things. Kind of the impression of him that's being put forward by Otto and some of the other individuals on the show. And then to end the little part at the end there, even with Corlys, they're clearly putting everybody who in a position where you could buy that and see a major war between them coming. But at the same time, they've put also the pieces in place, though more subtly, to kind of give you the hint that, no, maybe not. Maybe, you know, he might be willing to fight against some members of his family at some point, and his brother and Rhaenyra, yeah, he might be willing to play these stupid games with them, like Viserys was saying, and maybe even do things to challenge them in some ways to try and get more power for himself. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, he loves his brother and he loves Rhaenyra. And so you see, not just from the things in this episode, but also some things in the first episode. I did notice that some people commented on seeing in the funeral scene that he was actually, you know, crying. He was legitimately feeling sorrow for the loss of his sister-in-law and the baby, and for what his brother was having to deal with, despite him later acting like an asshole, and being glad about his own positioning seemingly being secured. He did grieve for them. He did feel bad about that. And you saw him, even when he was arguing with Viserys and calling him weak, saying to him, but I should be your hand because I can protect you in the way that others wouldn't, or you know, couldn't, depending on the person. Couldn't or wouldn't because they're out for their own gain. Otto. But, and then you see also again in this episode too as well, even the, obviously, he doesn't try to kill Rhaenyra, but not just that, he just tosses the egg back to her and walks away when she makes a challenge to him. And I personally feel like you could see on his face that he was kind of like impressed that she showed up on her dragon for that, that actually she came forward and kind of put forward this challenge and didn't just let him get away with his shit, that she called him on his bullshitting. And then later, even when he's speaking with Corlys and he's making japes about his brother not being a good king, but then the second that Corlys starts to say something that seems like disrespectful to the king, he shuts that right down. Like, no, I can say things about my brother, but you cannot. So I think they've also put plenty of pieces in place where if you're watching, you can see that actually this sort of potential brother on brother war, or brother on brother's daughter war that they're leading us to think could be possible, that might not be the direction that things are going, and that maybe that's not exactly who Daemon is after all, not entirely. So I very much like how they're pulling that off. And I like also the fact that despite the very real tensions, it seems like both Viserys and Rhaenyra also know this, that when everyone else at the council was suggesting that Daemon might try to murder him and steal his throne, Viserys is the only one that's like, are you out of your mind? And yeah, he'll do a lot of shit, but that, and that despite everyone else being afraid of what's going to happen there on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra just walks right up to him and says, go ahead, kill me if that's what you want, because you know you'd have to do that in order to get to be back as the heir, because she knows that he's not going to. But yeah, so I very much like the way that they're putting that in place. I'm also still, like, I find it interesting that Otto chose to go as he did, because I believe that his idea in going here was twofold, in that, okay, maybe Daemon just backs down and that's good for the realm, but you know, maybe he tries to fight us. Maybe he kills me. Maybe I die. And then, you know, then what happens? Then what happens? The king is not gonna be so pleased with little brother after that, and then maybe Daemon will die. And so what is he, I mean, he's kind of got this idea in his head that if the worst happens, I've already got my daughter positioned in quite a good place. Get rid of Daemon, and he doesn't view Rhaenyra as an actual threat to the game he's trying to play with Alicent to put her on the throne. Not really. Probably because he understands what Rhaenys was saying about how all the Great Lords are not going to want a queen if there's a male heir there ready to go. So, I also really liked, so they had the little conversation in place between Laena and Viserys, and she wanted to talk about Vhagar. Well, first she wanted to talk about Balerion, which I don't know if people didn't know that Viserys was Balerion's last rider. Now you know, so that's pretty cool tidbit. But also about Vhagar. So, yeah, I just thought that was really cool also because of things that, as I said in the reaction, are yet to come, and that if you don't know yet, I'm not gonna spoil, but Vhagar! So I really liked that little touch. I also, you know, hints of things to come. All the Kristen Cole stuff, but it's so hard because I don't want to spoil anyone on anything if you don't know the source material, but I also want to talk about it, so it's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to do this summation part without giving anything away. But yeah, I thought it was another really great episode. I'm looking forward to the next episode, as they definitely set up at the end that yeah, Sir Crab and his men there are probably about to taste some fire and blood, so I'm not sure how happy they're going to be about that. And again, I also think it's funny that it comes right back to exactly what Rhaenyra was trying to suggest, and everyone kind of blew her off at the time, but you know, there's Daemon, so. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this up here, guys. I need to edit this, and I'm really tired, and my head hurts, so it's gonna be a long night, but let me know your thoughts in the comments, and about anything that I talked about, or anything that I didn't mention in the episode, or things yet to come that you're excited about and looking forward to. I want to hear how you guys feel. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.